Yeah, what's up? It's Wrestling Uncensored. Tonight on the show, we've got the WWE Elimination Chamber card pretty much set. We watched SmackDown. We watched all the wrestling. We're watching Rampage. Let's get Johnny in here. Let's start the show. Yes, indeed, there he is. Big Johnny. We got a lot going on, John. We had the Rumble. You weren't on the Rumble post-show. So much going on in pro wrestling right now. We've got Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. We know that's official for the Wrestlemania. Or is it? Will it be Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns? Probably not. But Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. We got Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair official for WrestleMania for the SmackDown Championship, which was kind of a surprise. And we know that Bianca Belair's opponent for WrestleMania will be either Carmella, Mia Yim, Piper Niven, or Candice LeRae, because one of them is going to be in a match on Raw to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. There's going to be an Elimination Chamber match. Elimination Chamber, by the way, in Montreal. Elimination Chamber for a shot at Bianca Belair's Raw Championship. It'll be Asuka, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, and Natalya, and then the winner of that Fatal 4-Way match coming up on Raw, which is kind of not great for Bianca's match, a little bit surprising, but it seems like they're going in, I guess, the Asuka direction. I'm not really sure. Maybe Raquel Rodriguez. I'm a little bit surprised there. We could talk about that. There's a lot to talk about, and Roman Reigns against Sami Zayn is official for the Elimination Chamber, which is a match that makes a lot of sense. Coming up in Montreal, Roman telling Sami Zayn at the end of SmackDown he wants to show Sami what happens when you mess with the Bloodline. Roman is upset that Jey Uso isn't around. Jey Uso is missing in action. Jey Uso's left the family. Roman is blaming Sami for breaking up his family and says he wants to break Sami in front of his family in Montreal at the Elimination Chamber. Johnny North, what do you think of that segment to finish off SmackDown tonight that we just saw? I thought it was pretty solid stuff there with Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Jimmy Uso, and Solo Sikoa.
Well, it's the main reason why I think most people that watch the show, SmackDown tonight, would stick around through the whole show. I mean, they hyped it, start the show, and there was no big match to end the show. This was the main segment. And this is what everyone wants to see, really. This is the best thing, WWE, so why not run with this? And I get why some people are saying, like, Sami for WrestleMania against Roman, but, I mean, Montreal makes sense. The story, it fits well. And, like, it's going to be fantastic, I think, in, like, what, 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
Like, the Cody story's later. Right now it's Sami. That's the thing that's going. And, you know, they'll jump it later, but right now, give Sami his moment at Elimination Chamber. It's nice to have like a little like pit stop in terms of WrestleMania. Like there's something a little bit more intriguing before you get to the biggest show.
Yeah, it's a match that seems like a lot of people are calling for right now with Sami Zayn breaking off from the Bloodline. It makes a lot of sense, right? It's a long-running story. Sami is broken off from Roman and his friends, his family. And now the match just seems like, well, you kind of have to do the match, especially since they're doing the pay-per-view here in Montreal. It seems like the right move. I don't see Sami winning. I see it playing out where Roman winds up, you know, still walking away with the belts and facing Cody at Mania for both championships, right? Because this is for both. Sami challenged him for the WWE Undisputed, Universal, whatever, right? So I don't see Sami and Cody being the main event at WrestleMania. You got to have Roman Reigns in there. And Cody and Roman is a hell of a main event for WrestleMania. It's solid. It's a good B main event if you couldn't get Dwayne, which obviously they couldn't get Dwayne. right? We were talking about it last week. We haven't spoken since the Rumble. What'd you think of the Rumble?
We're talking about the show or the matches? Like, what
Oh,
in particular are you talking about?
What'd you think of the men's Rumble? I thought it was, it was decent. It was a good Rumble. People were saying it was like the greatest Rumble match of all time. I thought that was a little, people were very
That's 'cause
high on
Michael
it. I was
Cole-
all right. It was cool.
Michael Cole kept typing that, so people believe what Michael Cole says because that's what they're fed. So that's why.
I don't know why they would do that, but okay. What'd you think?
Like I thought the men's Rumble was probably the best match I saw that on Saturday, but
Yeah.
like I don't think it was the best Rumble ever, but it was definitely a very good match. I was intrigued and like you started it right away. Like to me, the fans were like the hottest at that point. I don't know if they ever came back after that match because I think it was so much that happened all in that like hour and 20 minutes that they did. Like it was a lot. And like I thought it was solid. Like it doesn't need to be the greatest Rumble ever, but to start the show, that was the best way to start the show, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I just expect more surprises in the Rumble. I expect to be like a little bit thrown off by something that they do, and nothing surprised me in the least. Like Cody winning was kind of like, oh, okay, that's what they got. He was the odds-on favorite. People kind of figured he would win. You predicted him to win. I was holding out hope for The Rock, but I said, if they don't have The Rock, Cody is the likely winner. And there it was.
Well, I think you kind of realized it too. Like when they announced that match was first, it's like, well, it's pretty obvious. They're not going to have The Rock come out to start the show. That wasn't going to happen like that. Like if The Rock would come out, it would be to end the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually a little surprised. I thought maybe like when Sami and Kevin were getting beat down, that was a perfect opportunity for The Rock to show up right there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people were even chanting for The Rock even. Maybe I'm just hoping for that, but I felt like they were.
I didn't hear that, but maybe. Yeah, they didn't get him. No Rock. It's too bad because it seems like, this was the spot to put him in against Roman. But guess not.
Well, we always said like it doesn't need to be for the title. So I mean, if he could do it next year at WrestleMania, by all means that works. It doesn't have to be for the championship. It just needs to be a match they actually do at WrestleMania.
But it wouldn't be as big as it would had they done it here. Because Roman has so much steam at this point, you can't imagine him being any bigger than he is now. And it seems like they're kind of unraveling all of that. Like, does he lose to Cody at Mania?
Well, here's what I'm thinking right now, just how it seems. Because remember that graphic that they showed that it said the winner will get a championship title match. I think like Cody's going to win. But then Heyman will come out the next night and said that, you got a championship title match. So you got one championship, but you don't get both championships. There's going to be something about that. He's going to say it was in the contract or something where the Rumble gives you a championship match, title match, but not both titles. So I think that's what's going to happen. That way, Cody gets his moment. And the next night on Raw, they fix everything. Roman still gets to be the champion.
Yeah. Cody gets like the WWE title and Roman keeps the Universal title. I could see that.
Everyone wins.
Yeah. And then Roman can move on with a championship still on SmackDown. I think that's probably where we're headed. I could see that. Shout out to everybody watching us live here. Angelo Contagonis in the chat. Longtime member. What's up, Angelo? Ryan Katz. Alex Taris. Loyal viewers. Angelo doesn't like Asuka's new look. I do. I like it. Anthony Plesia, a member of the team over at join.ringsidereport.net. Sorry, John, I'll let you address Asuka in a second. But Anthony Plesia says he's pretty pumped now. We get to see Sami versus Roman here at Elimination Chamber, turning out to be a decent card with 2 Elimination Chamber matches. And I want to talk about the Elimination Chamber card because I think, there are some things that are interesting and some things that are kind of like surprising and a little disappointing. CSL Lauren in the chat too. What's up, Lauren? Sorry, John?
It's not complete though. You said it like the card is set. Like the card isn't completely set. Like
no.
There's a couple of matches.
I heard we're gonna get Brock.
Okay. Yeah, and what though? Like not the chamber though.
No, I don't know. Maybe against Bobby and something.
That'd be all right. Yeah, sure. I go with that.
I mean, what else would they do?
Yeah, it's tough. Like there's not really much for Brock to do. Like, maybe Strowman, but like, nah, that's been done and doesn't really make sense right now.
They're not going to do
There's
Gunther.
really nothing else.
Unless they do Gunther for the Intercontinental title and they want to do Brock Bobby for the IC belt at Mania. Like, put a belt on it.
Maybe. I don't know about that because
No.
isn't like number one contender match next week or something
For what?
for the IC title?
Is
They
there?
announced Madcap against Ray against Karrion Kross.
No, that
against
wasn't
somebody.
that for a spot in the chamber?
I'm pretty sure it's like I thought it was next week for the IC title. You can look back on it, but I was pretty sure it said IC title. Because also,
No, I
like,
think you're right.
this is
Yeah,
another
you're
thing
right. You're right. It is IC
Well,
title because
it
the
should
two
be.
remaining chamber matches are going to be decided
Raw.
on Raw. Elias against
Right.
Montez Ford and Damian Priest against Angelo Dawkins. You are correct. Once again.
Yeah, but this is why the women's thing is messed up because why are there women from SmackDown competing in the Raw Elimination Chamber match? Like that's kind of messed up right there. Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, always on SmackDown,
Yeah.
yet in that match can go for the Raw Women's title. Like what?
Well, Rhea is on Raw and she's challenging Charlotte, so I guess anything goes because Charlotte's a SmackDown champion,
Wow.
right?
That's different though, where you can challenge for anything. That's been done for years.
I know.
Doesn't matter what brand.
I think it probably means that somebody from SmackDown is going to win because
You think
why
so?
else?
Wow.
Why else would they do it unless they have somebody in mind to be Bianca's opponent from SmackDown? You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think of it like that. I just think it more in the lens that they don't have enough star power on Raw, that they had to get some from SmackDown to make it more interesting. I mean, hence why we got Natty as well. Like they had to boost it up, get a Canadian involved in the chamber, like someone that you want to see win. You know she's not going to win, but at least the crowd's going to be behind her and at least cares about her, unlike most of the women's division.
So that match so far, we've got Asuka, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, and then one more person. And that'll be, like I said, either... Who do you think that person's going to be? There's a fatal four-way on Raw. Carmella, Mia, who just came back. Mia Yim. Piper Niven, who was Dewdrop, but she came back in the Rumble with a new name and slightly different gimmick, but really not. New music, I guess. New music, new name, but kind of looks like the gear is roughly the same. Right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you say new music, really old music. I mean, because that's what she used to be in NXT UK. So
yeah. Well, who's watching that?
You saw, I think, one or two. No?
Yeah, maybe. And Candice LeRae is in that match too. Who wins that one? I'm thinking Carmella.
It's Carmella or it's Piper Niven. It's one of the two new ones, right? That's usually what happens. Like if someone comes back, you usually give it to them. So it's one of the two. And Carmella did have that interaction with Oscar, like before her match, or there wasn't even a match. Like that was kind of weird too on Raw. Like I don't know if you noticed, like they said Bianca was going to come out, and then she never came out. I don't know what happened there. Did I miss something on Raw? Did like something like get cut?
Did she not come out?
Well, they said like up next Bianca Belair, and then that happened. The whole Carmella thing happened. I'm like, did I miss something?
Yeah, I didn't see Bianca either.
Yeah,
maybe it was a mistake. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but the announcers said like up next. You know, they had the graphic and everything.
Yeah,
and she never came. Nothing happened. We had that Carmella promo, and it was like, okay, like, what are we doing here?
No, you're right.
I'm weird. Like,
you're right. They advertised Carmella or Bianca, and Bianca never showed up.
And like up next, not like coming up later. It said like next, like from the commercials, like
After
that
the
was
Dolph
weird. I don't
Ziggler
know.
Bronson Reed match on Raw.
Was it then? Okay, yeah.
I think it was after that because that's right before the Carmella promo backstage.
So maybe like they're gonna hype that she's gonna have a match at the Chamber, Bianca. Like she'll have a separate thing, but maybe they just decided they're not sure about that.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
That's a weird one. You're right. I forgot about that. It didn't click, I was like, oh, up next Bianca. I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I guess it never happened, but I didn't miss it. I wasn't like, that Bianca promo would have been great. So I didn't notice.
I guess they didn't notice too, I guess.
But who's winning this chamber? So this is one of the chamber matches that they're giving us here. I've got tickets to this thing. I'm going with my son. Asuka.
Both nights?
Huh? No, he's
SmackDown and
no, he's only going to the chamber. I'm gonna go with my brother to both. My brother's coming with us to both nights, but I'm going both nights. My son's only going to one, is what I'm saying. I'm going to both.
Well, it's
too much.
It might be too much to go to.
Yeah, it's too much. He's 5 years old, man. Like, it's a lot. Two nights, even one night. Like, it's way past his bedtime.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing too. Like, I don't know what you thought, but Rumble was a very long show.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be a little concerned. Like, Chamber might go like past midnight. That might be kind of rough.
Well, whatever. Worst case, he falls asleep on me and I carry him out of the arena. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that would suck both nights, though. Oof.
Yeah, it's too much for a 5-year-old. Anyways, Asuka, enough with my problems. Asuka, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, and somebody else. But, I mean, looking at this thing, it's not going to be the somebody else for WrestleMania. This is for a WrestleMania match against Bianca Belair. It's either Raquel Rodriguez or Asuka. Right? Unless they go with Liv Morgan. Unless they go back with Liv Morgan, which I think would be a terrible move. Because...
It's not impossible, though.
No, it's not. But that match would be terrible at Mania. But you give her Raquel Rodriguez, and then you got a match. You give her Asuka, then you got a match. But I feel like they've done Asuka and Bianca before. Have we been there before? Or maybe not.
Did
Am I mistaken? I don't know. I might be wrong. But they've done so many combinations of matches. Asuka versus Bianca Belair. Can I find that? Is that a real match? It's happened on Raw.
Okay, but not a big, high-profile thing. And
I guess
now
not.
that she's got this new thing where she has like new makeup, every night. So I feel like they might go with this. It seems she seems to be the most pushed out of all of them, except maybe Liv, like you said. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Still early to tell.
Raquel Rodriguez had a decent showing in the Rumble, though. They like her.
That's true.
Yeah. I like her, too. She's really good. Like, she's going to be a massive star, and they might just say, hey, let's go with it now. Because she's ready. Like, she's ready to get to the top level, the main event scene.
The only thing, though, is, like, in terms of, like, the characters against each other at WrestleMania, is that really going to draw? Is that really going to have a big reaction? To me, that's the weakest one, to be honest. Like, just because she's not established enough. So I'd go with Liv over that, just because people at least know who Liv is more.
Asuka's the most over, I'd say. Especially with this new gimmick. And she looked amazing in the Rumble. She was one of the highlights of the Women's Rumble.
She's the favorite, I think, right now. Yeah. But, I mean, that could easily change.
I'm looking forward to seeing Asuka, especially if we see Asuka win a big match. That'll be fun. This match is not bad.
It'll probably start the show in Montreal, more than likely.
Mm-hmm. The other chamber match is going to be for the U.S. title, and I am not as excited about that one. Because this
we don't know everybody yet.
No, but it means way less. Like, the women's match is for a WrestleMania title shot. This match is for the United States Championship, currently held by Austin Theory. Like,
right.
Austin Theory's in the match. Seth Freakin is in the match. Johnny Gargano's in the match. And Bronson Reed is in the match. I say go with Bronson Reed. I like Bronson Reed. He beat Dolph Ziggler this week on Raw to qualify for this thing. They had qualifying matches. What was the other qualifying match? Johnny Gargano beat Baron Corbin. And Seth Rollins beat Chad Gable. Right? And then we have more qualifying matches. It'll either be, what is it, Montez versus Elias, and then Angelo Dawkins against Damian Priest in qualifying matches. I'm going to say it'll be Damian Priest and Montez or Elias.
Makes sense.
Montez? You think they go with Montez? Yeah.
Because it's Elimination Chamber. They want a high flyer of some sort. And I think they actually would want to push Montez as a single star eventually. So this is to give him an opportunity to showcase himself. So, yeah, I think it's going to be him.
Well, that's pretty mid. That is a mid-level match. That is a mid-card elimination chamber.
Mid-card title.
Yeah. It's not great.
But I think the match would be actually really good. I mean, you put all those guys in there, that's a pretty good match. It's a good mix, I think.
Yeah, you throw Damian Priest in there, it makes it more interesting, too. It could be a good match, but it's like, whatever. Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn, that's something. It's something. The crowd will be into it. But, you know, they'll be disappointed, right?
Well, I think just because Sami doesn't win?
Well, do you think the crowd will expect him to win?
I think they'll want him to win. I don't think people will expect him to win. You know, it's not like, Sami loses, we riot. There won't be signs like that, I think.
Yeah.
But they'll be cheering for him. But I think more likely people expect he's not going to win. I think, if anything, you expect Cody to come out at the end and maybe confront Roman,
Yeah. Do something there. Or, I think more likely is that you have Jey Uso come back at the Chamber and look like he's going to help Sami, but help Roman. Roman wins. They beat down Sami. Crowd is pissed. Kevin Owens comes out, clears the ring. They have a nice moment. They hug, and that's how you send the crowd home happy. And you set up Usos versus Kevin and Sami for WrestleMania at the same time. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, I think people would be happy with that for sure. It's probably what's going to happen. I just wonder, like you say, like the match, like what kind of match is that going to be with Roman and Sami? I think it could be pretty good, but how good are they going to let it be though? Because I feel like they like to keep Roman very strong. Like even in that beatdown, like Sami didn't really get much, but they gave him the spear. So I mean, it'll be interesting. Like there's some matches too. Like I didn't think they'd give Logan Paul as much offense as they did. So they can be surprising sometimes.
I think they're setting up Logan Paul for a match with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it seems pretty much set. I mean, Seth did that shoot thing that he did on Instagram, so
I didn't see
I don't know
that.
if you saw that or not.
No.
Yeah, just something about Logan Paul, like not really being in for wrestling. He's just trying to be famous, but he said in a shooty way. So, he's just trying to sell the match. That's nice. So it'll be a nice display kind of match, but it's not really the match I'm looking forward to at WrestleMania.
No. It'll be athletic, but,
right.
Who cares? Anthony Plessia says, we won't expect him being Sami, to win, but the fans will make the best out of it and really be into it like we're just here for a good time. Yeah. I think it'll be fun. People will be excited about Sami.
Well, and also they'll give him back his old music, so everyone will do the whole, crazy taxi thing throughout the whole match, more than likely, and Olays. So, I mean, the match will be over practically start to finish. So you got no problems with that. It's just, again, how much are they going to give him? I mean, I think they're going to give him quite a bit. I just wonder how much, though.
Yeah, I think they got to make it look, Roman's got to look strong. He's going to beat Sami down, but Sami's going to have, he should have a few moments where the crowd believes he's going to win. They got to make the crowd buy into it. Because, I think you got to make Sami look okay. You can't just destroy him, right? Because that would just be sad. It can't just be a beatdown where Sami has no chance at all,
I think there might be moments where it's like Roman's clearly, it's over. Like Roman's got it, but he kind of gets cocky and takes his time, and that gives Sami an opening. So I think that could possibly happen.
Yeah, but I think the best way to do it, the best way to finish it off would be, for Jey Uso to realign with the Bloodline. Because, I mean, come on. What's he going to do? Is he going to go off on his own? Like, what's the resolution here with Jey Uso? Everybody's like, oh, Jey Uso. Like, the fans were chanting, we want Jey when Roman was beating up Sami tonight. And I was like, what do you expect to happen here? Like, Jey Uso is just all of a sudden going to go join Sami. It's going to be Jey and Sami against the Bloodline. Like, that doesn't make sense. Jay's going to rejoin his brother, and it's all going to be fine again. They're the tag team champions. Don't they have to defend next week?
They're supposed to. We'll wait and see what happens with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Jey Uso will rejoin the team. So tonight on SmackDown, we saw Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, and Paul Heyman together quite a bit. They showed up at the arena. Kayla wanted to know the status of Jey Uso. Roman kind of blew her off, walked away. Heyman says he can't confirm or deny Jey's status in the Bloodline. And that was a running theme throughout the show. They were in their locker room a couple of times talking. Roman wants to know where Jey is. He's asking Jimmy. He's asking Solo where his brother is. I think that's the first time that they've acknowledged that Solo is Jey and Jimmy's brother. I don't know if they've said that before, or Roman has said that, but minor detail.
I feel like maybe once they did, that was about it.
Okay. I don't know. I don't remember it happening. Roman is like upset, right, that no one's heard from Jey Uso. So no one's heard from Jey Uso, and then Roman tells them, go find Jey Uso. But I don't know where they were going. Because later on, they come back to the locker room. They're like, we can't get a hold of him. So they're just calling him on their phone, right? Like, he's not in the arena. He's not there. Roman's like, go find him. It's like, well, he's not here, man. And they call him, and Heyman is there in the locker room with Roman. He's like, oh, it goes straight to voicemail when I call Jey Uso. And then Jimmy Uso and Solo come back in the locker room. They're like, we can't get a hold of him. Like, yeah, well, his phone's off. It's like, what? Where was Roman sending them? Did they have to leave the room to make a phone call? I don't understand. And then Roman was like saying, I'm sorry, Jimmy Uso. I didn't mean to yell at you. I love you. I need you. It's Wrestlemania season. I got a lot of stress. I'm worried about everything, and I'm sorry, but you got to be on my side. Otherwise, the Bloodline is going to fall apart. And he says, hey, I've got some steaks and sushi for you in the bus. Steaks and sushi. Make that a t-shirt. Steaks and sushi, and just have Roman's face on it. Steaks and sushi. The wise man has arranged steak and sushi on the bus. And he says, Solo and Jimmy, you go eat and have dinner. I'll join you after I go handle business in the ring. Right? Shout out to Harold Schneider for the super chat. Clapping for us. We're clapping for you, buddy. Thank you, buddy. And then Roman cuts a promo in the ring, and he wants to talk about the number one contender and the winner of the Royal Rumble. Like, he wants to address Cody and the future, but the fans are chanting for Sami, so he says the simple people want him to talk about the past. and they want to talk about Sami Zayn. And Roman says there's two sides to every story, and he saw greed at War Games from Sami Zayn because he gave Sami the opportunity of a lifetime, and Sami was using him. He was using his family. He was using the bloodline and using the island of relevancy, which is the ultimate sin. Never use the island of relevancy, John. Okay? That's our lesson from the tribal chief.
No lies from Roman. I mean, really, when this started, it felt like that. So, okay. But people fell in love with Sami, so
yeah,
it's
but
okay
Sami,
to be bad.
Sami very smartly attached himself to the hottest thing going as kind of an underling, and made it something. It worked. It added to the bloodline. It added to their story, and all the characters playing together made it work. But there is a certain element of that being true where Sami was, kind of here, and he got higher up by being with the top act in the company, which makes sense. But he elevated them as well, I think. And then he says Sami is just like the people who just want, and they take from Roman, and they never want to give back. And then here comes Sami Zayn in a hoodie, and he attacks Roman Reigns from behind, and he starts punching him, but Roman fights back, right? Like, Roman doesn't just get beat down by Sami. He fights back. He hits him with knees, and he starts beating him up, and then he demands a chair from Paul Heyman. So Heyman goes, gets a chair, gives it to Roman. Roman turns around. He gets speared by Sami Zayn, and then Sami goes to hit Roman with a chair, but Roman just rolls out of the ring, so Roman doesn't get hit with the chair. And Sami gets on the mic and tells Roman that he never wanted anything from Roman. He wasn't trying to use him. He never wanted anything until now. He wants the WWE Championship. And then Jimmy and Solo attack Sami from behind. And then Solo hits the spike on Sami. And then they wrap the chair around Sami's neck. And Solo goes to do the running butt thing into Sami with the chair, like to decapitate him or whatever. Right. The running butt in the corner. But Roman stops him. The what?
It took out Riddle, that move.
Is there a name for that?
I don't know. Running butt in the corner? Like, it's really what it is.
It's the running ass move.
I mean, I guess it's a hip attack, right? You could call it that.
Mm-hmm. We're looking at one of the masters of the running butt move right now on AEW Rampage, Toni Storm. She does a very good running butt.
Best right now, I think, yeah.
You think it's the best running butt in the business?
I mean, the way the camera is and everything, and her intensity, it like, you're laughing, but I'm being serious.
I know, it's just because of a funny move. Oh, she's about to do it, running butt. Oh, devastating.
Yeah.
Just as we're talking about it, Toni Storm hits the running butt in the corner. It's just funny to me because there's so many different names for wrestling moves, and she just won with the running butt.
Well, no, she hit a pile driver.
Did she? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just this move doesn't have a name, It's just like you sit somebody in the corner, and then you run from one corner into that person butt first. Like, why not a knee? Seems like a better.
Rikishi made it famous, I found.
Yes, but it's an odd move. But yes, Toni Storm's running butt in the corner is very good.
Oh, we got the spray paint. We're totally NWO now if they're doing the spray paint. Oh, I got this one right.
They spray painted an L on these jobber opponents. It's Paige or Saraya and Soroya.
Saraya. You'll get it right one day.
Saraya and Toni Storm. L for losers because they're losers. They spray painted them green on their bellies. Good God Almighty. What a running butt. So Roman stops Solo from doing the running butt, and the crowd is chanting, "We want Jay," and it seems like it was perfect timing because Roman says, he's yelling at Sami, who's in the corner, And the crowd doesn't hear it, but we're hearing it because they've got the mic there on the camera. And Roman says he doesn't have Jay because Sami broke up the bloodline. And it's really good, intense stuff from Roman. Like, he is in this character. Great. It was really good. When he was telling him, you know, he gave him the key to the kingdom and he repays him by breaking up his family. Like, he seemed mad at Sami Zayn. You know, like, it was very good. It was really good stuff from Roman. And he says he's going to show him what he gets when he messes with the bloodline, and he wants him in Montreal in front of his friends and family. And he's going to destroy him. Very good.
I mean, it'd be fantastic. I mean, they got to do it where they get Sammy's wife and kid in the front row. And, like, you know, they're, like, worried and, like, I'm not saying do we make Foley and The Rock kind of thing, but to have them being emotional, that'd be fantastic. I mean, that would really pull on a lot of heartstrings, I think.
Mm-hmm. They'd have to identify who they are, right? Because I don't know. The crowd wouldn't recognize them off the bat, right? Like, they'd have to show the camera.
You'd have Sammy hug them or whatever before they, you know.
Yeah, I could see
before
that.
He gets in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Roman could point at them and yell at them, you know, what he does. We kind of saw it. I don't know if you saw on Dynamite this week. It kind of happened with Jade and Red Velvet.
Did Red Velvet get in her Jade kid's face? Because I saw Jade pick up her kid after she won the match, and she walked backstage with her, and the kid seemed to be upset.
Yeah, because Red Velvet like yelled at her.
I'm hearing my baby crying.
Chopped. Well, that's not good. That's bad timing.
Yeah.
But like that, because I think like Red Velvet chopped Jade and said something about like, this is your mama, and then bam, and yeah, I think she started crying because of that. Yeah, that's good stuff. But you know, for a heel, not a face.
Yeah, right.
It's something about weird. I don't know about you, but like I've noticed like a lot of the women, like for whatever reason, like they've been cutting promos, and it's like the heels are faces and the faces are heels. And AEW did it perfectly where they just flip-flopped it, but it's happening like throughout the week. Like we'll get into it more, but I feel like this is a constant thing that happens in the women's divisions.
I did not notice that. Anything else happen on SmackDown that you liked other than the Roman stuff here tonight?
I thought the opener was all right, you know, a decent match. I mean, nothing like to be like, oh my god, it was amazing, but it was a fine opener, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Braun Ricochet against Imperium, it was a good match.
I like Imperium a lot. I think they're all fantastic.
Yeah, they're good.
The more I think about
Vinci's pretty good.
Gunther, the more like he had a great performance in the Rumble. He gets better and better. They're featuring him more and more, and he answers the call. You know? Like, sometimes they feature guys and you're like, it's not really living up to the hype. But Gunther, he's the real deal, you know? Every time he's out there, it's like, yup, he's doing it. He's the man.
I agree. I didn't like the push, though, and then, you know, he got ejected at least, but I don't like the push, though. I mean, that should have been a DQ, but
yeah,
at least they put over the fact that, you know, you can't do that, so that's nice. Some people could just get away with that stuff, so at least there's a little bit of order, I guess.
Yeah. But I like Imperium. I like the Goons there, too. Kaiser and the other one. They're good. They're a good tag team.
I believe it's Giovanni Vinci.
All right. Look at you with all the names. And then Braun Strowman and Ricochet. I think they're a fine tag team as well. I don't mind Braun and Ricochet together. And they're going to face the Usos apparently next week, so that'll be interesting on SmackDown.
They're an okay team. I don't want to see them as tag champs, though. I feel like there's better tag teams. But they're all right individually, I find. But
yeah,
as a team, it's like, I wasn't a big fan of this. I've noticed, like, throughout the night, a lot of people just wear the same colored gear all the time. I mean, it's a little thing, but, like, why does everyone have to have the same, like, kind of gear practically? Like, black and white or gray and black? Like, at least Braun was a little bit different. Then your tag partner looks exactly like your opponent, so that was kind of weird. And I feel like the next match, Charlotte and Sonya, like everyone wore the same gear color anyways. It's just
Yeah.
little things like that where it's like, I mean, they have so many wardrobes, but everyone has to wear practically the same color against each other. Little things, but I just found it odd and off-putting.
I saw a comment from Ryan Katz saying, "Can WWE have a European wrestler who's actually a face?" I mean, they got Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. They're baby faces. They're European.
Yeah.
So.
Some people like Wade Barrett. Not you, but some people.
Well, he's on commentary.
Yeah. But he had a segment, remember, like for the Rumble, where Drew McIntyre said, "Oh, I got some bad news," and he's like laughing in the background. Some people pop for that.
But he wasn't in the Rumble, was he? I don't even know what you're talking about.
No, he's just in a segment. It was during, I want to say it was either the pre-show or it was actually during the Rumble itself. It must have been the pre-show, I think.
Yeah. We could talk about Charlotte and Sonya. I mean, Charlotte beat Sonya. It was all right.
That was an all right match. The only problem, though, I mean, you had the night, Monday anyways, Rhea announced she wants to face Charlotte. Not, I'm going to go for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I want to face Charlotte. So clearly Charlotte, the one who's already been challenged, is not going to lose. Like, I feel like they did this a couple years ago where it's like once you have it set for WrestleMania, there's no more title defenses because it's pointless because everyone knows it's pretty much set in stone unless it's a big kind of name thing, big match. This clearly wasn't a big match whatsoever, but we had to get through it, so we did. The match was fine, and I feel like Sonya, I think one day could be like a Money in the Bank winner and become champion. It just hasn't happened yet, but I feel like they're kind of pushing her the way they pushed Liv a couple years ago. Like there's a slow build, I think, towards her becoming eventually a champion.
I'm not seeing that, but maybe you're
they
right.
keep giving her opportunities all the time. Like she faced Bianca, she faced Charlotte multiple times. Like that's what happened with Liv. Remember, like Liv was always going for the championship, wasn't winning, but always got the matches.
Yeah, I guess it's possible. Do you think Sami Zayn? You're talking about how Charlotte and Rhea is the match, and this match here with Liv kind of pointless for the title. With Roman defending against Sami, they're already showing us the poster of Roman versus Cody. Do you feel the same way about this match, or do you think that there's a way for Sami Zayn to find his way into the Roman and Cody match in a triple threat type of deal? Like Daniel Bryan did with Edge when Edge won the Rumble?
That was kind of different, though, because they did the whole, chamber thing right, and then Roman challenged him right away, so there's a little bit of controversy with that. Where this, it's like, well, you straight up have a title shot, and okay, you might get screwed around or whatever, but you had a match, straight up one-on-one. Whatever happens, you win or lose, that's going to happen. So, if anything, I would have made it non-title. I still think he would have lost Sami, but at least people would have thought, oh, maybe he's going to win because it's not for the title. And then maybe they'd add him into WrestleMania after that. I would have done that, but they just want to go right for the title anyways. And, clearly he's not going to win. But again, people will be into it because it's Montreal and he's the hometown hero.
Yeah, I could see Cody, if Sami gets screwed somehow, a Montreal screw job.
Well, sure, why not? I'm sure we'll get something about it. If not the main event, a match. Natty's in a match, remember? Don't forget that.
Yeah, Natty's in a match. Yeah, that's right. But, say Sami gets screwed out of the match, and it's clear that Sami should be champion or should get another shot at the belt, but he's not getting it because, Roman has moved on. He's won, but under shady circumstances. You don't see a window there for Sami to appeal to Cody to make it a triple threat and Cody being a sweet, nice babyface and agreeing to it because he sees that it's the right thing to do. I mean, it's wrestling. They can do whatever the hell they want, right? I could see it happening. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to do Sami and Kevin against the Usos, and they'll do Cody and Roman at Mania.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if they decide like Sami's done a great job for us, he's really put this story over. People are really into it. People are really behind him. Let's throw him in this match, make it a triple threat. Like, it's possible. Like, because I think they wanted to do Roman versus Edge at Mania, but Bryan was catching fire so much, they just said they have to put him in there. He was just the guy. And Sami is kind of in a similar spot right now, where people are behind him, people are chanting his name. He's over in a big way. But Cody is too. So, I don't know. It's not a terrible idea. Like, I wouldn't hate seeing Sami Zayn in there as a triple threat with Cody and Roman. Wouldn't be the worst move. But again, I don't think they're going there. I'm just throwing it up there. But it's like, you could see them going there, right? Like, possibly.
Well, with the Bryan thing though, because like that was during the whole COVID era too, right? Like we were not still in the Thunderdome when Edge won the Rumble. I feel like we were. Were we not?
Maybe.
So
I think so.
I mean, they kind of controlled the audience. I felt they put Bryan in the main event for Mania because they were trying to keep him, and that was the whole thing. Like, oh, we put you in the main event WrestleMania, you know, like you should probably stick around. We still think of some of you, you know. It didn't work, but I think that was partly part of it. And, you know, we don't know yet. I mean, for sure if that's true or not. Bryan will maybe tell in a book, possibly.
Yeah.
But that's the way I read that. Not that he was catching on, because, you know, they've ignored that too. I'm surprised Natty, like, I was expecting Natty to lose because they don't really seem to care about reactions. They just push who they want to push. We've seen this many times in the past.
Yeah, but it's Montreal. They want to put Natty in a match. They want to put Natty in there. Why not?
They were thoughtful, and they were thoughtful for Sami for this, but, you know, the thinking was Cody for WrestleMania. They had that story set, and we saw Cody on Raw. Like, people are still into it, albeit some people booed when they mentioned Cody tonight on SmackDown. Like, Sami has his fans, and, you know, there's no denying that.
Did people boo?
Yeah, people booed.
Uh-oh.
When, because Roman started the promo like Cody did, right? Oh, so what do you guys want to talk about, you know? Oh, you don't want me to talk about Cody Rhodes? And people kind of booed a bit. So, but, you know, I get it, because, you know, Sami's got his fans too, so some people are going to be divided on that one.
They're giving Cody a lot too. Gave him the big comeback, all the, you know, not everybody gets videos and stuff while they're injured, updates while they're injured, you know? A lot of guys, when they're injured, they just disappear, you know? But they gave Cody a lot. They gave him the 30th spot in the Rumble. They kind of built it up for him. He wins the Rumble. You could see fans resenting that at some point, feeling like Cody is maybe being pushed a little too strong. And Sami Zayn being that underdog guy that isn't supposed to be there, you know? There's something to that. It's not like we haven't seen Cody do great work and get completely turned on by the fans before. It was like, what, a couple years ago? A year ago? Wasn't long ago, right?
You're talking about an AEW, and it's funny, like, when I was watching the promo to start Raw, right, with Cody, like, I kind of felt like, man, like, it's good this is in AEW, because you cut this promo in AEW, like, the fans would turn on right away, because it was like a lot of it was truthful, what he was saying. It was very interesting. I liked the promo, but a lot of it was like, it felt like kind of melodramatic, the way he was with a lot of stuff, like over melodramatic, and like, you know, you knew Cody was going to cry at a certain point. Like, it's sad in a way, but Cody's promos kind of feel like it very much planned, not completely like organic, you know, and like, more than likely he does plan them out like that, you know, and it kind of takes away a bit where it feels like, oh, he's trying to be really emotional, but he's actually not really emotional. He's just set this all up.
He's acting.
So, yeah, he's acting, but like, it's good though. Like, it's not bad. Like, and it works in WWE.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very good
was
promo.
It was okay.
I love. He got the fans to boo John Cena. That was pretty good.
I mean, the way he set it up. I mean, come on.
He's very good at manipulating the audience. He's very good at that. The AEW fans see it a different way, obviously, but WWE fans love it.
I mean, he didn't say much. Wrestling
Well,
has
just
more
pretty
than
much-
one royal family, and I will have
Yeah.
to beat another member, Roman Reigns, at WrestleMania, and I'll take the belt from him, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it was,
Mhm.
yeah, he's acting, and it's like he's not a great actor. I don't know. I could see the fans turning on him sooner than you think, John. If he beats Roman,
I
people
wonder-
might turn on him right away. Like, I could
You
see
know,
Roman being the babyface in that match. People like the tribal chief. People acknowledge the tribal chief. They boo him against Sami, but I don't know if they're going to boo him against Cody necessarily. Some people will, but I don't know if it'll be unanimous, you know? I don't know.
No, I think there's still a lot of Cody love. Because WWE, it works where he is. I think kids mainly like look up to Cody and say like, "Wow, that's a huge star. That's the guy." And the big thing too, he hasn't been touched by Roman. You know, he hasn't been beaten by Roman like everyone else has been on the roster. Or it's like he's like the last hope in a sense to finally take down Roman.
Well, because he hasn't been around. Had he been around, Roman would have beat him too.
Well, it's helped though. It's he's fresh. It's something new. It's something different where it's like we can believe in him, unlike everyone else. Even Sami's lost to Roman within seconds.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that there is an element of the wrestling fan that resents Cody for leaving AEW.
well, that's stupid. Like he did what was best for him. It's best
Yeah,
for wrestling
but
too.
The reasons that he gives, like, it's just weird, right? Like, he left AEW. He was one of the guys in charge of AEW, and I think a lot of people like AEW. And Cody leaves, comes to the WWE, and says he left AEW, he left all that because he wants to be WWE champion? What?
Well, you want to be WWE, like you want to be the guy that makes the most money. That's seen by the most people.
Yeah, but
That makes a lot of sense.
WWE champion, like it's just an odd thing to do. It's an odd. I mean, I guess it makes sense as a wrestler to say, I want to be WWE champion, but it's just, I don't know. I think
should be what you're striving for. To be WWE
Yeah.
champion.
I suppose. But now he's just like another wrestler, in
Well,
the
now he's going to
WWE,
WrestleMania.
in the
Now
machine.
he's got the spotlight on him. Now
Yeah.
everything's about him. He main evented Monday Night Raw. The show was about him. It started with him. It ended with him. It's the Cody show right now on Raw. And I'm thankful for this because like we haven't had much to look forward to on Raw. Now we have him, so we have something to watch. That's going to be enjoyable.
Yeah. I mean, the
You're
promo
not
was
on the train. I get it.
I'm not really with it because the promo that he did on Raw, it was fine, but what's he going to do? The same promo every week? Because he's really not, there's no advancing of the Cody story. He's just waiting for Roman. So until April, for the next 3 months, what's he doing? Feuding with Dominic Mysterio? Like, what's really happening here?
It'll be 2 weeks, right? Because we're 2 weeks away from the Chamber.
Yeah, but what's Cody doing at the Chamber?
Well, I don't think even Cody will be at the Chamber, from what it looks like. I don't think he needs to be. But I think on that Monday after the Chamber, I think you have Cody and Roman face to face. And, it starts there. And February all the way to the start of April, you got Cody and Roman. That's more than enough time.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know what's the story between Cody and Roman? What's the, what is it about other than, just the belt? What are they going to say to each other? What do they have?
Oh, just talk about their family. I mean, they have history with each other. They've wrestled each other a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the Rhodes beat the Shield. So Cody was the first one to put like a blemish on Roman in a sense. Do it again.
Right. And Cody will talk about it. And then Roman, you went on and you became the tribal chief and the champion. And I went on and I went to other places and did other things and revolution and that stuff. And then, right? And now we meet again and I'm here to take what you had and you could never do what I did and da-da-da.
Undesirable, undeniable.
Yeah.
Do the work.
Yeah.
All the catchphrases.
Yeah. Yeah. See how excited I am about this? I don't know.
Well, it's not The Rock. I get it. It's not The Rock,
but it's just.
I still think it's
good. I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. And then Cody started talking to Finn Balor and Dominic Priest and Damian Priest, all the priests.
Oh, this is where it went downhill, sadly.
Well, yeah. I mean, these guys start talking and...
Well, did you notice Dominic? Like, I don't know about you, but man, is he like, when he's on live, like, he's just a robot. Like, he's just like remembering his lines, no emotion whatsoever. Like, it's night and day. You saw his pre-tapes that he did on SmackDown with the whole NASCAR racing, where he was showing emotion, seemed like he actually was alive. Or on Raw, he's just monotone, and this is what happened. And then I took the mask off. Like, just nothing. Like, no, and even his face, just blank, nothing. Just trying to remember his lines. That's all he's doing. I think he even jumped over, like, one of Finn's lines. Like, he was going ahead of his promo before Finn was even finished saying what he was supposed to say. Like, not great. He's not good in front of a live audience, I think, so far with promos.
That NASCAR thing was really stupid, though. That NASCAR thing that he did on SmackDown.
The banter was really bad.
Oh my God! They
were insulted each other.
NASCAR people involved with who was there? It was New Day and
I'm sure
Ray. What?
I'm sure Fred Garcia. I'm sure he was happy with that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Fred was watching. But it was New Day and Ray doing some sort of NASCAR promotion, and then they got interrupted by the Judgment Day, and there's NASCAR guys, and they're talking to each other, and then Dominic and Ray are trash talking, and then they decide to settle it with a car race. So then they're racing around, and they do a worked car race that Ray wins.
With insults. Back and forth.
Yeah, they're talking to each other on the little microphones back and forth. It was horrible. I guess they're going to do Dominic versus Ray at Mania. But this was...
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, but this was just awful. It was... But these are the types of promotions that they're doing now. I saw somewhere they made like over $1 million from Mountain Dew or Pepsi for that Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. That's crazy.
And I believe, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is sponsoring WrestleMania, so we're probably going to get a Cinnamon Toast Crunch match. I guess you don't like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I guess.
I don't know. I think I've had it.
I'm not a big fan, to be honest. I don't like that.
It's not really good. No, I wouldn't buy it. It's not good. Mountain Dew Pitch Black wasn't great either. Didn't love it. Yeah. And then Cody wrestled Finn Balor in the main event of Raw. Other things happened on Raw, too. Yeah, it was a good match. And there was some shenanigans, right, with the Judgment Day surrounding Cody. And then Edge showed up, speared Dominic Mysterio.
By the way, with Cody's like pyro, you notice like it's like completely like foggy like every time. Like it's like the old school like 2000 Raws. Like it's like foggy like during the promo. It's foggy during the match. Like it's been such a long time. I don't know. There's something wrong with that pyro because maybe they don't use pyro that much. I guess, but it was just you could tell it was like off, and it hasn't been like that for years.
I didn't notice. I didn't notice the fogginess of the pyro.
Well, I
Cody's?
guess just because they use too much. Yeah, Cody's pyro. Yeah, because they probably use way too much. I'm guessing.
Cody winds up beating Finn Balor after a crossroads, and that was the end of Raw this week, with Edge and Beth Phoenix showing up as well, hitting a spear
That
on
was
Rhea
nice.
Ripley. Are they setting up something with Edge and Beth Phoenix and Rhea Ripley and maybe somebody from Judgment Day, maybe Finn? Some sort of mixed tag match, possibly at Elimination Chamber?
I mean, that's what they should do, to be honest. Like, do a mixed tag because Rhea's gonna be wrestling WrestleMania. Or, I mean, if Rhea wants to wrestle both nights, you could do that as well. But I wouldn't mind just because we'll be in Montreal, so Elimination Chamber will be fine.
I think Edge will probably wrestle here in Canada on pay-per-view.
It'd be nice, but I mean, let's see this card though, because like, what you already have 4 matches. Like, there's not gonna be too many matches. I think I would believe, anyways.
Because the Chamber is going to be, those will be long matches, you're saying.
At least 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. We've got 3 matches so far. How many matches do you think they do? The Rumble was like 5, I think.
And that was too long. Well, that and the fact that for whatever reason there was just so much downtime in between stuff. Like, why did we have the Hardy concert? Like, you could have done that on the kickoff show, and these packages about like stars that they show all the time. Like, do you need to show that? Like, you really don't.
Nope.
I get you want to give people like a little bit of breather in between stuff, but like these things are way too long. Like 5 minutes, like it's too much.
That concert was horrible. I mean, I don't understand what the hell that even was. It was
Well,
really,
regardless of that, it's just the placement of it. Like, I don't think I would have
yeah.
liked it where it was. Just it should have been like kickoff show. Why was it on like it's like midnight at that time when it came on? And
Mm-hmm.
that took away from the end thing too, because like it was good the whole beatdown with Sammy, Kevin, and the Bloodline, but like it's way too long, and the show's gone way too long. So I've lost interest just because it's just dragging so much. Like that needs to be fixed because it takes away from the action, sadly.
Yep. It, when they push it so late and they just drag it, and I mean, I understand you want a little bit of downtime before the main event, but give us a match that's a little less important instead of that kind of concert, especially at that time when the pay-per-view's so long already. Like, come on, just give us the main event already. Skip to the
Well, they
end.
shouldn't have had like Bianca and Alexa didn't need to happen. Like that was kind of a pointless match. Could have happened on Raw, to be honest. Like we only needed 4 matches.
Mm-hmm. So what happened here on Raw this week?
Okay,
I think
qualifying matches.
we
The
went through
chamber,
pretty much everything on SmackDown. The
except
Natalia,
the
Zelina Vega, Shotzi, and Shayna match that Natalia won with a sharpshooter over Zelina Vega to qualify for the
mhm.
Elimination Chamber. It was a 4-way match. It was what it was. It was short.
there was damage control on Raw. They had their matches
Yeah, we'll get
or
to
their
damage
segments too.
control. What was that Bray Wyatt thing where he's sitting there watching what he did at the Rumble and the Pitch Black match, and he's got Uncle Howdy sitting with him? At least he didn't talk. We just saw him for like 20 seconds. It's good for me.
Because I don't think they had anything, and it's just like, oh, we'll just show a flash of something, and That's what they usually do a lot with Bray Wyatt, right? Like, I thought we'd just get a symbol or something every now and then, but we got that. I think it's just to show, like, okay, he's done that. He's on the next thing, and what's going to happen? We don't know yet, but
Yeah.
keep watching.
Who's his Mania opponent? You figure they give him something.
See, with him, I think you think mixed tag, Bray and Alexa against somebody. But honestly, I think just Bray versus Uncle Howdy. I mean, that just seems to make the most sense, no?
In the Cinnamon Toast Crunch match.
Sure. Cinnamon Toast Crunch Funhouse match. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Viking Raiders beat the Brawling Brutes. It was fine. It was actually pretty good. These guys are all good. This was a decent match. Every time Ridge Holland does a suplex, I cringe. Every time he throws somebody over his head, I'm like, oh, shit. You know what I mean?
But he was safe, I thought. To me, it looked like he was careful with it. So.
But just because that, like, one time he did that to Big E, and Big E hasn't been seen again, it's like, every time he does that to a guy, I'm like, be careful, Because with him, like, man, it's possible. It's scary. But he's very good. I like Ridge Holland. I think he does those suplexes perfectly. And the match is good. Are those guys still with Sheamus? Because Sheamus and Drew McIntyre attacked the Viking Raiders after the match, but not because of anything with the Brawling Brutes, but because the Viking Raiders had attacked them last week on SmackDown. Sheamus and Drew McIntyre are not the Banger Bros anymore, but they're a tag team. They just dropped the name because it was pornographic. So Sheamus and Drew are a team. The Brawling Brutes are a team. But is Sheamus still with those guys? And if he's with those guys, is Drew with those guys too? Because I think all four of those guys as a big group would be pretty good. That makes sense.
I feel like they are. It's just, they have it more set as tag teams because they don't have like another faction to go against. So it's just set like that. But, it's fine like that. They did the whole Sheamus, beat on the chest thing at the same time, like they gave shouts to Sheamus. So there's a connection there. And the music's very similar. So yeah, they're still a team. It's just they don't always have to come out together. It's like, Mox's group. Wheeler came out with them and his dad for whatever reason, but Claudio didn't. But still, they're still all a group,
Are they? Is Bryan Danielson still in the group?
Well, that's debatable, that one. But like the rest of them are.
So Wheeler, Claudio, and Moxley, they're a group. Those three guys.
And Moxie's dad for some reason, yeah.
Moxie's dad. That's some group. He's the new Regal.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So over on Raw, we had Seth Rollins over Chad Gable with a pedigree to qualify for the U.S. title Elimination Chamber match. When they set up this match, it was like Seth Rollins against Chad Gable to qualify for the Chamber. It's like, gee, who do you think's going to win here? Chad Gable's just been reduced to jabroni status. And it's obvious.
It's weird, too, because then they turn him face. Like, why just have him get squashed like that? It's kind of weird.
Pointless match. Io Sky beat Candice LeRae. Pinned her with a roll-up with some help from Damage Control. Io hit a really nice, like, tope cross-body thing and took a nasty German suplex from the top rope. This match was pretty decent. Io and Candice.
Yeah. Yes and no. Like, I found Io, like, brought it, but Candice, like, she lacks intensity in a lot of her things. Like, in terms of the way, like, her movements are and her moves, like, she's just kind of going through the motions, I find, with a lot of her stuff. Like, there's no, like, urgency. It's just like, I'm going to do this and that and go from one move to the next. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just do stuff. And, like, it doesn't feel like she's trying hard. But I'm sure she is, but her try hard it just looks slow.
Yeah, I think Io is fantastic. She's just
Well, yeah, but
some of the
she's like
things she
a
does is
roadrunner
amazing.
compared to her. Like,
Huh?
she's like a roadrunner compared to her. Like, she's going like Speedy Gonzalez, and Candace, slowly, meticulously, like, doing little things, which is fine. But it was off-putting again. Like, where it's like, well, one's clearly fast here, one's trying to do moves, but at a very slow pace, and it doesn't look as good because of that.
So Io beats Candace with a distraction from Bailey, and
Double
then Rhea.
distraction.
What?
Because didn't Dakota try to interfere, then got stopped. Then Bailey interfered. Then a very lazy, just like roll up pin.
Yeah, because Bailey
And that
was
was it.
there, and Candace looked at Bailey. No, didn't Candace look at Bailey and then get rolled up from behind?
Well, Dakota tried to get in the ring. Ref stopped her. Then Bailey got on the apron. Then she got hit off the apron. Then the roll up. But I just thought the roll up was kind of lazy. It was just like, okay, that's it.
Yeah. Well, it's lazy. What do you want? Sometimes it's lazy.
Well, because they do it every week. That's the problem. That's why it's lazy.
Yeah, they're just going through the motions sometimes. Rhea Ripley cut a promo about winning the Rumble. Rhea talked about challenging Charlotte at WrestleMania 3 years ago, and now she wants to beat her again, and take the title at WrestleMania.
We'll beat her this time.
Well, yeah, beat her this time because last time she lost, right? So she wants revenge. So Rhea and Charlotte at WrestleMania. Is this the match you wanted to see?
I think it's a good match. It's not the match I was expecting, but I'm like, oh, that makes sense. The story's good. However, this is what I was talking about before, where it's like, Rhea Ripley, heel, comes out and pretty much cuts like a babyface promo, talking about how she lost to Charlotte and like it really hurt her, and she has to accept the fact that Charlotte beat her, and now like she has to come back and get the win on her again, like redeem herself in a sense. And it's like, well, you kind of get behind that. So I'm kind of surprised they went in that direction. Like, to me, people are going to be cheering Rhea because I think she's more likable than Charlotte.
I don't know about that.
I don't know how you don't see it. Like, Charlotte was okay tonight because, hometown advantage, but like, I don't know about LA. Like, I feel like Rhea's going to get cheered because people want to see her as like the top like women's wrestler now. Charlotte's had her time over and over and over again.
I mean, it doesn't matter if Charlotte loses, and Charlotte will probably lose, but the Queen is recognized everywhere. I don't know if the crowd will be completely behind Rhea and against Charlotte. Talking about Charlotte Flair, greatest of all time.
Yeah, one of the greatest in the sense that she's been there for so long. Yeah, sure. And I think better as a heel than a face, without question.
She's the greatest women's wrestler of all time.
She, at times.
Biggest star in the history of women's wrestling.
It's debatable. I mean, Becky's up there too.
I don't know. What's she doing at WrestleMania? Don't know.
It's a great question.
Don't know.
It's a huge question. Like,
yeah.
How is she not in the chamber match? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, how come her or Bailey aren't in the chamber match?
Like, how is that cage match not for a spot? That doesn't add up, but okay.
Yeah, what's up with that? It's for the Raw Women's Championship. They're both on Raw. Raw Women's title shot at WrestleMania. You would think Bailey and Becky would be in the mix for that. Why do they have SmackDown wrestlers in that instead of Becky or Bailey?
Yeah, I'm not completely sure. Like, they clearly have a different idea of what they want to do with both of them, I guess. I don't know if they want to go all the way to Mania with these two. That seems like way too much, but maybe that's a possibility right here.
I don't know.
I mean, now it's all personal because she said the Seth Rollins line. So
Yeah. Oh, we could talk about that promo. What is with these promos that they're doing? What is happening with Bayley and Becky? They come out, they do these awkward ass promos. Bayley comes out, she talks about beating Becky up last week in the cage and then eliminating her in the Rumble.
Yeah.
And Becky comes out and says, "Well, I already won the Rumble, so I didn't need to win it here. I just needed to make sure you guys didn't win it." Which is like, what? You already won the Rumble in the past, so now it doesn't matter if you win it again. So you're not interested in being champion. So maybe that's why she's not in the chamber, because she's not interested in being the champion. She's already won the Rumble. She doesn't need to win it. It's just about making sure Damage Control didn't win it for some reason.
I didn't realize personal beef was a bigger thing than championships, but okay.
Antoinette, been a member of the team for 24 months. Thank you, Antoinette. She says, sad, won't see Roman on Saturday. Need to figure out how to change my days now. I feel after WrestleMania, Roman will leave for a long time. She won't be able to see Roman, I guess, on the Saturday show. She's not going to the chamber. I think she's going to SmackDown. Antoinette mentioned she was going to SmackDown, possibly. But this Bayley and Becky promo was just so awkward. And then eventually they kind of got to the point, but it took a while, you know? And Becky is saying that Bayley's scared of having a match against her one-on-one. That's why Damage Control attacked her to stop the steel cage match from happening. And Bayley says, well, it's not that I'm scared. It's just that I don't like you. I don't like you, Rebecca. She called her by her real name. And I think that you're overrated. And Bayley says that Becky is not good enough to be in the ring with her. And she's not even good enough for her husband, Seth Rollins. And everybody knows the only reason that he married Becky is because he knocked her up, which just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yep.
You know, it was just like, oh, they're doing this little promo, and then Bayley just says this shocking thing, and you're like, what? It feels like it doesn't call for it. You know, the intensity isn't really there. It feels kind of jokey. And then all of a sudden, somebody says something really mean and intense, and you're like, what is that? And then it kind of goes back down. It fizzles out. Because Becky is just she kind of no-sells it, right?
Yeah.
Becky's like...
So it was weird.
Yeah. Becky's like, I thought all this time we were fighting over just wrestling. But it turns out you've got bitterness that stems from NXT. And I want to end things in a steel cage with you next week in Orlando where NXT is. It's like, what? Well, she just kind of no-sells the Seth Rollins comment and keeps going and talks about NXT and says Bayley's mad about NXT. And Bayley's like, no, I don't want to do the steel cage. So Becky goes backstage and drags out Dakota Kai with a chair around Dakota's ankle. And Becky is demanding a match or she's going to stomp on the chair and break Dakota's ankle. So Bayley, the heel, Becky, the babyface, Becky, the babyface, is holding somebody captive and threatening to break their ankle if they don't get their way. And Bayley, the heel, has to save her friend and accept a steel cage match against the nice Becky Lynch next week on Raw.
You see this recurring theme in the women's division here.
Right. Oh, this is what you mean.
The whole week.
This is what you mean.
Well, no, yeah. the Rhea Ripley thing, like it just always seems to happen. You know, like babyface. Oh, I'm gonna act like a heel, and the heel has to act like a babyface. It's like, what are we doing? I don't get it. But this promo was awkward, weird. Like they were just trying for shock value. I think with that line, I guess they thought it was a cool thing to say. But like you said, it didn't make much sense. It was out of nowhere. And it's like they're just trying to be edgy and shooty, but it comes off as just awkward and
Yeah,
misplaced.
terrible. And they keep doing these promos. It's not like they did one and they're like, "Oh, that didn't work. Let's not do that anymore." They've done like 2 or 3 of these now at this point. They keep trying.
Well, I think they think they're really good at this, so they love to do this back and forth stuff. So.
There's no way they think this is coming off well. Are they watching this shit? Like, come on, man. It's horrible. It's so weird. Oh, God. And Antoinette is right. Antoinette is right. She says, so dumb, leave Seth out of it. I agree. Like, why? I mean, and it doesn't even make sense because I feel like the timeline on that, I feel like Seth and Becky were married for a while before Becky was pregnant. Right? So the comment doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, they were married, right? Because they got married. Because they were married and they were still wrestling, right?
No, because like they were supposed to get married, but COVID happened, right? So then they didn't get married, but they had a kid during COVID. So I think it's
Are you sure
possible
about
they
that?
got married after. I'm not 100% sure about that whatsoever. Right? You keep up to date more with the WWE couples than
Yeah,
I
I don't
do.
know. Either
But I
way,
remember there being delays because of COVID. I remember that.
I don't know. But it was just an odd comment. The match should be good, though. You know, they're gonna do it on Raw on Monday. That should be all right.
Well, they haven't had a bad match yet, but again, where are we going with this? Like, is this finally it with the steel cage match, or is this just the start of something? Which is odd. Usually, the cage match is the finale for feuds, usually, but this might just be the start of something. And I guess you're looking at the timeline of that Becky and Seth stuff. I
No,
guess.
no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I don't care enough to do that, John. You know. But I feel like Becky and Bayley is gonna last a while because what else is going on? What other
Well,
big
is Ronda coming
matches?
back? Like,
Yeah, Ronda, but there's talk of Ronda and Shayna going for the tag titles, but maybe
makes
that's
sense.
against Dakota and Io.
Well, for Ronda, it makes sense. But yeah, what's Becky gonna do? I guess a stipulation match against Bayley at this point, just because there's nobody else.
Yeah, but can you really drag that until Mania? I feel like they're doing a steel cage match on Raw. Where else can you take it at WrestleMania?
Yeah, it's tough. If you're not putting in the title picture, like, and if Ronda's doing something else, it's slim pickings. I mean, you have to do Bayley just because there's nobody else.
But that's tough to run until Mania. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, this is what Becky's doing? Like, what is Becky really doing? I think they should find a way to get the tag belts off of Dakota and Io and on to Becky and Bayley. And Becky and Bayley should face Ronda and Shayna. John, are you with me? Did I lose John? Is John frozen? Am I still on? Are you there?
Oh, I think I can hear you now.
All right,
Okay,
we're
I'm
back.
back now. I was gone for a little bit, but I think I'm back now.
Yeah, I think we froze out. I think that was on my side. All right. We're back. Where were we?
Cool.
All
Well,
right.
Becky.
Yeah, I don't know where Becky
Tag
goes.
champs?
Yeah, Bailey and Becky, I think that they should figure out a way to force them to face each other or tag together. Becky and Seth got married in 2021. Thank you, Angelo. Okay, 2021. So when did they have their kid? That's the next. Can you do that research for me, Angelo, next? When did they have their kid? What's the timeline here? Is Bailey onto something? But, I mean, I don't think that would be the reason sometimes, you know. But I think because Bailey and Becky are a higher profile, that you'd want to give them the Ronda Rousey match. And then you have, you know, I don't know. Can't you figure out a way to get Bailey and Becky on the same side? They've done that before. Didn't Shayna and Nia hate each other before they started teaming with each other, and then they had a nice long run with the tag belt?
Sure, but like you're not going to have them as tag champs for that long then, because Shayna and Ronda, that match is going to come up sooner in Mania.
What do you mean?
Because, like, say they make that turn, like you're saying, like they have to do that very soon, and then for them to win the tag titles and then face Ronda and Shayna, there's not a lot of time for that all to happen.
Yeah. So what are you proposing? Like, because there's nothing really, unless you just push Bailey and Becky all the way to Mania, which is a little long. There's really nothing else for Bailey or Becky.
It is long.
All right. Well, that's where we're going. They've got the steel cage match on Raw.
Just go with Becky. Becky and Ronda, man. Like, just that should be a singles match. It should be, but for whatever reason, they're not doing that. Their only child.
Oh, okay. So the child was born before they got married.
Not right now.
Man, that's. So the child was born before they got married. So what Bailey is saying, I guess, is kind of mean. I don't know. I don't know if that. Well, what is that?
She's a heel. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a heelish thing to say, but whatever. Apparently Brock Lesnar is going to wrestle at the Elimination Chamber, according to the Wrestling Observer, which is pretty good. We'll see what Brock does. I guess something with Bobby Lashley. I don't know. What else is going on, John? Are we done with WWE? Anything else happening in the WWE? Anything else happen on Raw? Rick Boogs returned, wrestled
I think
The Miz in a suit.
Yeah, there you go.
How about that? What the hell was that?
In a squash match, yeah.
Miz comes out for a promo.
They give Boogs a nice return back, you know.
Yeah, but Miz comes out for a promo. Adam Pearce shows up and introduces Boogs as the newest member of the Raw roster and says Miz has to wrestle him right now. And Miz is like, I don't want to do it. I'm in a suit. And Adam Pearce is like, too bad. You have to do it. And then Rick Boogs just squashes the Miz. What kind of official is this? Is Adam Pearce making Miz like he can't go back and change? What's that about? That's not professional.
The show's on a schedule, so they have to make sure the matches happen certain time. So, match had to happen then. He couldn't wait. He had to have the match then. So, does it matter? I mean, I'd rather a short match than a long match. So I was more than happy with that. Yeah. I disagree with, having Boogs do like a grill press slam as a finish. Like, you're not doing that to everybody. But, I mean, it looked nice for a return, I guess.
Rick Boogs, the air guitar man. All right. So that's the WWE. Huh?
My team with Elias. That'd be an interesting team.
Elias seemed to not like him.
Yeah, he didn't like Riddle too, but he still teamed with him.
Is Riddle ever coming back?
I don't know. Rehab could take a while.
Saw a comment there from Angelo. Whatever happened to Nakamura? Whatever did happen to Nakamura? They lent him out to Japan for that one match, and he never came back.
Yeah, maybe would have beat the crap out of him. It happens, people get stiffed.
I suppose. But he was with Rick Boogs. I don't know. All right, how about Dynamite this week? Jon Moxley comes out through the crowd with his dad. They were in Dayton, Ohio.
The Nutter Center, I think.
The Nutter Center. Yeah, Taz kept talking about Nutter Center or Nutter Arena. Nutter something.
Yeah.
So Moxley and his dad and Wheeler Yuta come through the crowd, and Hangman comes out, and Moxley jumps on Hangman during his entrance, and they start brawling around the ring and into the crowd, and Hangman throws a chair in Moxley's face and suplexes him on a chair outside the ring and throws him into the ring, and then the match starts, and Moxley is bleeding as soon as the bell rings. Like, the match has not officially started. Moxley is bleeding. Hangman hit a tombstone, the buckshot lariat, but Moxley kicked out at one point during the match. Hangman put Moxley in a bulldog choke, but Moxley reversed the move and pinned Hangman to get the win. But Moxley was more beat up than Hangman. You know what I mean? Like, Moxley may have won the battle, but Hangman won the war type of thing. So it was well done in that sense where, Hangman made an error, but he had Moxley beat down pretty good. But he made an error in applying that bulldog choke, and Moxley was able to reverse it and then pin him to get the win. But after the match, Hangman was on his feet, and Moxley couldn't get up. So I thought that was good. Getting Moxley the win, but still continuing it where, Hangman's still looking strong, and you could keep that feud going. I think that match deserves some kind of gimmick at the pay-per-view. At this point, I think, what is it, March 5th or something, their pay-per-view? I think Moxley and Hangman, you could do some sort of, no rules match, whatever, and it could be pretty crazy. But those two had another good match to open up Dynamite this week. They've got something there with these two guys, It's solid stuff.
Well, a very physical match is pretty much every one of them that they do. If anything, I thought it was too physical to start the show because right away you can quite a bit of blood and a lot of crazy. They had the pop-up powerbomb to the table on the outside. Just a lot of crazy action. Had a lot of head drops, like you said, I think in the past. It was a very crazy back and forth match. A good match. But again, to start the show, to me that should have been the main event. But then you see what the main event did, and it's well, it's more of the same practically, so there was no point to just start and end the show practically with just craziness. So that works. But I just felt that this was like a main event match you put first. It took away, I thought, from a lot of what you saw in the middle.
Well, a lot of the middle was a lot of nothing, but they opened up strong. It's good to open up strong, and the main event was solid too. It's not like it outshined the main event. I thought the main event, Darby Allin and Samoa Joe, was the most exciting match on the card. Thought it was the best match they did that night.
Yeah, it's because I think Darby killing himself, that's more suspenseful than anything else that they have going. So there's nothing you want to see more practically than just Darby killing himself through everything. It's very unique, I have to say.
How does he do that stuff? When Joe picked him up, when they're in the crowd, they're up on the stairs, and Joe picks him up and then just dumps him on his back on the stairs. Like, and that one where he just flings him off the ring steps, and he flies into the crowd and like does a flip and lands on the floor. Like, what the hell was that? Over the barricade?
Right.
My God. I've never seen anybody else do some of these bumps, you know? Tremendous.
I like the jacket thumbtacks. That was very unique, very innovative.
It was a hoodie.
Was it a hoodie?
I think so.
Regardless, like that whole like cover that he had, the hoodlum, I guess hoodie he had, right?
Yeah.
Like that was a good idea. Just, he had a weapon on him, and it hurt Joe just to even hit him too. So it was a good, unique way to start the match.
And he used it too. Gave him the coffin drop with the thumbtack hoodie, but only a 2 count. Right? Couldn't beat Joe.
True, yeah.
And then Darby started cutting all the ropes around the canvas to lift it off.
That took too long.
It took forever.
You should have had Sting for that. You should have had Sting do that or something.
Yeah. I mean, it took forever. He was cutting, and he had to saw through some of that stuff. They couldn't have figured out a way to make it easier for him, giving him a better tool. Like that, he had a little thing. Like, give him something better. Have a better tool ready to just go cut, like chop it, Yeah,
bolt cutters.
Yeah. He had just a big, giant scissor. This guy had like this little tiny knife thing. Not doing anything. Taking him forever to cut all these ropes. Eventually he did it and did some crazy shit. So it was worth it. It was worth the wait, right? Because you're watching it, you're like, oh, Darby's up to something. It was going to be worth whatever time it took. But, man, when he started on one side and he got the one side done, and then it was like, oh, okay, on to the other side. I was like, oh, no, you got to do more. It was
long,
so much. It took so long. But eventually he did it, and he lifted off the canvas, and he lifted off the pads, and it was just the wood. And Darby goes to dive on Joe, and then he flips through a table. Right? That bump was ridiculous. And then Joe power bombs Darby on the thumbtack hoodie and puts his face in it. And Darby escapes, goes to Joe's eyes, puts his thumb in Joe's eyes, and Darby goes for the coffin drop. Joe pushes the ref into the ropes. So Darby falls down on the top rope, crotches himself. Joe grabs him, hits the muscle buster on the wood, on the ring. It was nasty for both of them. 1, 2, 3. Samoa Joe wins the TNT title again. Nasty
that's
finish.
That's the end. There will be no rematch.
No?
That's what Darby said. That was the stipulation to the match. Like, whoever wins, there's no rematch.
Well, that's too bad. Because these guys are having some great matches.
The way they ended that, it's like, it's probably for the best. Like, if they did another match to be even crazier, like, maybe they don't need to do that.
I don't know how you top that. That was a crazy match.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Darby's so good. I was kind of sad that he lost the belt.
It made sense, though.
Why? Because they got to do Samoa Joe and Wardlow because Wardlow was coming back?
Well, just Darby was doing it week in, week out. All these crazy matches, like eventually it caught up to him. You can't do that week in, week out.
Mm-hmm. A lot of them against Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe just beating his ass. Samoa Joe is such a great ass kicker. Like, when his job is just to destroy a guy, and Darby's like, yeah, destroy me. Joe is so good at that, and he's so convincing in that role. Darby's making Samoa Joe look like $1 million in these matches, right? Like, he looks like the old Samoa Joe in these matches.
It's like a resurgence of his career, almost in a sense. Like,
Mhm.
you thought he was done. In WWE, it's like he'd have a big match, then disappear. Big match, disappear. I feel like, he's got a bit more of a streak going here. All momentum going now.
But now he's going to wrestle Wardlow. Wardlow is
At
back
some
with a
point.
haircut.
Probably for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Not right away.
Elsewhere on Dynamite this week, we had Jamie Hayter being interviewed by Renee backstage with the Bunny and the Butcher and the Blade showing up. And the Bunny wants a match next week on Dynamite against Jamie Hayter, who's the champion. And Hayter seems to be fine with that. And then we cut to further backstage. It was like they're backstage, and then we're going to cut to a TV of the parking lot where they have a camera set up where Saraya, and Tony Storm are beating up Britt Baker. I just want to call her Paige. Like, goddamn. Where Paige and Tony Storm are beating up Britt Baker in the parking lot. Full heels. They're bad. They're spray painting people on Rampage. They're beating up Britt Baker in the parking lot. Yeah. Pretty good.
I mean, it would have been all right if Britt had like some bruises on her face or something, but her makeup was perfect when they went backstage afterwards, so it kind of made everything look phony, sadly.
I mean, that made everything look phony. What about MJF? I mean, that was ridiculous. We'll get to MJF in a second here.
Which part? Which part are we talking about?
Well, when he
here?
came to talk to Roosh after getting into a fight, he didn't look like nothing was
he
out
looked
of
clean,
place. Yeah, he looked completely fine. He had a dress shirt on and everything. Nothing was messed up. He looked like that was not filmed right after that fight with Takeshita backstage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And Angelo, I did catch that. The camera caught it. It was pretty bad with Moxley.
What happened?
Because when the match started, with Moxley and Hangman, when they went right up on Moxley, it was right when he was using the razor blade right on his eye.
Oh yeah.
So you saw like clear as day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just bad camera work. That's bad timing on Moxley. Like, just bad all around. But that happens, like, you got to be creative in the sense of when you're going to do the cut. And, TV people have to realize too, like, don't look at this guy when he's doing this. It's two things.
Yeah. They got to know better than to show it. I mean, he's going to do it. Maybe
He took a while to do it, though. That was the problem.
The Acclaimed beat a couple jobbers in a squash match, and then the Ass Boys came out, and they won a tag team title shot, and then the Acclaimed cut a promo on them, and Billy Gunn gets all mad with his sons and with the Acclaimed, and he leaves, and the Billy Gunn sons tell him to go drown his sorrows in a pill bottle like he used to do. So Billy Gunn gets mad and he comes back and he says, okay, you guys get a tag team title shot next week. He's upset Billy Gunn so much that he wants them to prove himself to him and wrestle the Acclaim for the tag titles. I don't know. I'm not really into this whole thing with the Ass Boys and the Acclaimed. It's not the best. Considering where we've been with the Acclaimed, this feels like a step back. You know? They've had matches with
Well, yeah, of course it is.
FTR and with Swerve and Lee. And, they've had really good matches, and now kind of the Ass Boys, it's like, what? What is this?
Well, this is the Acclaim pretty much proving how good of champions that they possibly can be. Like, they wrestled against, the top teams, right? And they wrestled with teams on their level. Now they get to wrestle teams that are kind of beneath them in a sense and bring them up to their level. This would really show how good of champions they are. If they can bring people up to their level.
They're not
see
there
what happens
yet.
with that.
They're not there yet.
Well,
it's not working.
Sink or swim on this.
Yeah, but come on.
We haven't seen the match. Yet, so hard to say. It might be a good match. Promo-wise, it's not there. But match-wise, it might be.
Promo-wise, it feels like they're dragging the Acclaim down.
A little bit. But that match was weird, too. Like, they wrestled that team from OVW. Like, it was kind of weird. Like, it was just randomly put together. It was basically a squash. Like, it wasn't really well done to set them up. Like, they didn't get a strong win. They just got it's probably winning on dark, that kind of match.
Konosuke Takeshita beat Brian Cage. Yeah. What did you think?
I thought, there was some great moves, but again, it's just moves with no rhyme or reason to it. And like, you hit all these cool moves, powerbomb, brainbuster, superplex, and then just a simple running knee is the 1, 2, 3. And it's like, sometimes, like, I don't get how they put matches together. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, you do all this cool stuff, and then like, I'll just hit your knee and that'll be it. I don't get it. I don't get how people plan that.
Yeah, it wasn't great. And Takeshita did. Takeshita, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it just was. I don't know. It didn't grab my attention, And I think that's probably because they're just doing a bunch of shit. And it's like, yeah, all right, call me when they're done. But Takeshita gets a win, which is different for him. So maybe they're gonna start doing something with him, right? He's been losing a lot.
His first win on Dynamite. I think he's won on Rampage, but first Dynamite win, I believe.
And he's aligning himself with Bryan Danielson, so there's something there with Takeshita. They're doing something with him. And then the Jericho Society is interviewed backstage, and they say if Ricky Starks wants another shot at Chris Jericho, he's going to have to go through the Garcia Guevara Gauntlet, which is Angelo Parker, Daddy Magic, and either Daniel Garcia or Sammy Guevara. And if he can beat all those guys, then he'll get a shot immediately there at Chris Jericho. So I guess that's going to happen on Dynamite this week. They set that up. Whatever.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, fine. It was kind of a weird little way to set up a gauntlet match that, it's good for Ricky Starks to get that push, but I'm not dying to see that particular kind of match. These matches aren't usually that much fun, but it's a good showcase for Ricky at least.
Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of these gauntlet matches either. I really like Bryan Danielson against Timothy Thatcher. I thought that was fantastic. Great match. Cool opponent for Bryan Danielson here in this run of matches in the build towards the MJF match. Timothy Thatcher is an excellent pro wrestler. He was in NXT for a bit, right?
Yeah, he wrestled Riddle in the first pit match, remember?
Why did they let him go? What happened there?
Yeah, they let him go, I think, I want to say in 2020.
Why?
Just all those cuts they were doing, remember?
Yeah, but what? He's excellent. Why would they let him go? Of all the wrestlers that they have, if they had him under contract, why not keep him? Unless he didn't want to be there.
Well, I think you could see why. Like, in terms of a character, is there much there in terms of a character? Not so much, and that's what WWE. That's the prime focus is. The wrestling is like the last thing, and that's his specialty. So it's like, well, that's not what they really want. They want someone who's a larger than life character. And he has an interesting character, but say that it's larger than life, it's far from that. So I can see why WWE got rid of him.
Yeah, but he could get over. Is Gunther a larger than life character?
He's definitely on his way.
Is are both Imperium guys larger than life?
I mean, they have a shelf life because of who they're associated with, I feel. And they're a decent team and all that, but I mean, it helps that they have, a main event guy with them in a sense. Potential main event guy.
I'm not trying to pick on those guys. I think they're some of the best. I'm just saying Timothy Thatcher, he seems like he could fit in with that type of thing. He's got a lot
group,
of...
Sure, but individual?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he could work as an individual in AEW.
Well, it worked here, I think some people liked it. I know some people that didn't like this, actually, thought he was kind of boring, so.
Oh, yeah?
That's it, some people, like his style. Some people aren't a fan of his style, so. That's it. It's not for everyone. It's different, which I appreciate, but I see how other people see it, where sometimes difference is like, well, this isn't good to me because it's too different.
Mm. Well, I liked it. This would have been my match of the night if not for that Darby and Joe match in the main event. Although Hangman and Moxley was pretty good too. This was a pretty good episode of Dynamite. Match-wise, like, we had some pretty good wrestling.
Well, I don't think you'll say Red Velvet and Jade Cargill was like the best.
Mm-mm.
But it happened.
It did happen. Jade Cargill won, beat Red Velvet. She's 50-0. It was not the best. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. But, yeah. Jade Cargill won. MJF offering Roosh money to hurt Bryan Danielson because it'll be Roosh versus Bryan Danielson next week on AEW Dynamite. It'll be the Acclaimed versus the Ass Boys for the AEW Tag Team titles. MJF will wrestle Konosuke Takeshita on Dynamite next week. And Jamie Hayter versus the Bunny in what they're calling a title eliminator match. So I guess if the Bunny wins, she'll get a title shot against Hayter. MJF is actually going to wrestle on Dynamite. Doesn't happen very often.
Well, they're always trying to find a way to get him on the show in some capacity. I don't know if you've noticed that, like last couple of weeks, where they're always just trying to get him to be a focal point of the show. Because he's the world champion. He should be featured in some capacity. And there's only so many times you could have him in promos or skits without needing to change it up. So finally having a match, it's good. It's better to change it up. Make it different. Show that he can wrestle like he's the world champion. He should wrestle more often.
You think Takeshita maybe beats him?
No, I don't think so. I feel MJF, if he's going to lose a non-title match, even with that, it's got to be a big, big deal. And it's too early for that. He just started his reign. Can't lose. Not right now.
I think you're right. But it should be a good match. MJF against Takeshita. Looking forward to it on Dynamite. We should talk about, of course, another terrible loss in pro wrestling. Lanny Poffo passing away this week, just 68 years old, which is not old for a person,
Well, he's still active too, in a sense.
Yeah, he's in good shape. Sad to see Lanny Poffo go. Great wrestler.
You had him on the show, I think, at one point.
Yeah, I met Lanny Poffo at a wrestling show one time. I interviewed him, talked to him for a while. Nice guy. Yeah. He was a talent, the genius, right? Everybody remembers the genius from his WWF days, Leaping Lanny Poffo before that. He was a talent, a fun promo. He did that moonsault. And he was Macho Man's brother as well. So, he passed away this week. So rest in peace to Lanny Poffo. Got any Lanny Poffo memories, John? You never wrestled Lanny Poffo, did you?
I never wrestled him. Met him a couple of times at shows. It always seemed like he was in a good mood, always, for the most part, smiling.
Yeah.
Always seemed like he had a joke to tell of some kind. Not jokes that you would want to say here anyways, for sure, but
No.
he always had something funny to say. So, always, had good spirit, kind person. It's sad that just out of nowhere he passed away like that, because apparently he had something appearance I think he was going to make on this weekend, and he's not going to be there now. It's really sad.
Yep. So definitely some sad news there. Losing Lanny Poffo, the genius, a fun character in pro wrestling for sure.
I think it's sad.
Jeremy must have wrestled Lanny Poffo,
oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah, eh?
A couple of times, yeah, for sure. At least 3 or 4 times. People remember 2010, Canada's gold medal game. We were wrestling that day, at that time, actually. And I think Jeremy was teaming with Lanny in a 6-man tag or something. There's only 10 people in attendance or something, because everyone went to go watch Team Canada play.
Right.
And I thought that was cool. It was well, wow, Lanny's here. There's only 10 people, but Lanny still showed up. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he wrestled well into his 50s, if not into his 60s, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He was wrestling in his 60s, without question, yeah. I think when I met him, I guess he was in his 50s, yeah. Late 50s.
Yeah. Well,
it's sad. WWE, no graphic, no video package. This guy wrestled Hulk Hogan, and, all we got was a mention from Michael Cole, and it's it's kind of a slap in the face, to be honest.
Is that all they did? They didn't do a graphic at the beginning of SmackDown? That's too bad. Yeah, they should have. That's Lanny Poffo.
Well, I mean, he wrestled for them, and he had some big matches for them. I don't understand. There must be some sort of heat or something. I don't know.
Come on.
WWE usually shows some love, but I guess they don't love him that much.
He's the last living member of the legendary Poffo wrestling family. They don't do anything for that? Where's the history?
They didn't put him in the Hall of Fame, though. They put Randy in there because they wanted Randy, but they didn't put Lanny in there. So that's what Randy wanted.
Didn't they only put Randy in after he was gone, right?
Right.
Because Randy wouldn't go in before, because they wouldn't put Lanny and his dad in with him.
Exactly, yeah. He wanted the whole family in.
Yeah. Good man, that Randy Savage. John, you're a good man. When's your next match? When can people see you?
Well, it's too early to tell right now. Okay. Probably next week we'll probably know.
Okay.
But too early to tell.
All right.
We'll talk about
that's a good reason.
Sure.
Good reason to tune in next week to find out when Johnny's next match will be. I want to thank Harold Schneider. You're the Super Chat leader of the night. Thank you, Harold. Harold is a smart man. He is the Super Chat leader, and he has joined over at join.ringsidereport.net. Support the channel over at join.ringsidereport.net, just like Antoinette has done for the past 24 months. Thank you, Antoinette. Thank you, Antoinette. Thank you, Harold. Thank you, Angelo Contagonis, of course. Our man Angelo out in Laval. home of Sami Zayn. That's where Sami Zayn is from, Laval, Quebec. Anthony Plessia.
Laval, NDG, like,
NDG.
I think you know a little bit about that too.
NDG.
You don't remember AJ talking to Sammy's like family, whatever, like recently?
Well, maybe he moved to NDG, but I'm pretty sure he's from Laval.
Yeah.
Maybe he moved to
originally from
NDG as an
Laval.
adult.
Right.
But I grew up in NDG, and I didn't know no Sami Zayn. You know?
Sure, yeah. You probably didn't go to the same schools or whatever, but
No.
yeah. But if you see him around like Monkland or something, like it might be him.
I don't hang around NDG anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, never
Cool.
mind. Maybe your parents will.
Maybe you will. You're an NDG.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. You know, I'm not looking out for people.
I'm not looking out for people. And I am? Who am I looking out for? I'm not looking out for people.
Hey, this is a shoot here. You know, you're the one who always tells me I see Pat Patterson, or you used to see Pat Patterson all the time. So
if I tell you these days I see Pat Patterson, you got to worry about me, John.
a little bit, but you used to tell me that all the time. Like, oh, I saw him the other day. Like,
well, I did. I'd see Pat Patterson. What are you gonna do if you see Pat Patterson? You're gonna see him. Like, oh, it's Pat Patterson. For some reason, I kept running into Pat Patterson downtown Montreal constantly. Like, at least 5 times I ran into Pat Patterson.
yeah,
I don't know why. Different places too. It was weird. It's like on the street. Like, oh, it's Pat Patterson. What's he doing here?
well, that's it too. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to see a lot of WWE stars, like, because they're going to be here Friday and Saturday, right? So come Thursday, more than likely they'll be here, and I'm sure you'll hear a lot of complaints about them freezing and being like, "Oh, Montreal's horrible," and I'll be like, "TS to them."
The best time I met Pat Patterson was when I was going down an escalator, and Pat Patterson was coming up the escalator, and I'm going down with Fred, and Fred goes, as we're going down, "Hey man, that guy looks like Pat Patterson." And Pat Patterson hears him say that and looks at him, and he said, and I'm like, "Yeah, it is Pat Patterson." And Pat kind of gives him a look like, "What the fuck?"
I could imagine. I remember, like, I've seen Pat give that look before, so yeah.
Yeah. I saw Danhausen at Toys R Us.
See, yeah, you seen Danhausen what, like twice?
Yeah, I think so. Well, once that only once, I think. Maybe twice. There's one time I thought I saw Danhausen, but I wasn't sure. And then another time I saw Danhausen and I was like, "You are Danhausen." And he was like, "Yes." And I spoke to him for a couple minutes.
So it probably was him the first time too, then.
I think so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Danhausen. I've seen Danhausen around. I haven't seen Danhausen around for a while. But I saw him that one time at a Toys R Us. I was like, he just looked like Danhausen. You know, the way, because without the makeup, It's hard to tell. But I was like, this guy is Danhausen. And it was Danhausen. And he was very nice, but not very evil. So I was a little disappointed. I was expecting to get cursed. But I guess maybe he's got to wear the makeup to fully curse.
I was going to say, yeah, no makeup, no curse, yeah.
Yeah. But a Danhausen curse, I feel like, is a blessing. Blessing in disguise.
Well, maybe you'll get lucky now that AEW is doing house shows. Maybe you'll get to see Danhausen again. The house shows now that they're doing.
Yeah, AEW is doing house shows now. What's up with that?
Well, it's just an increased, No, I don't think it's too much. What are you talking about? They do what? A show a week?
Yeah, I guess. I guess you're right. Maybe do more. But I don't know. It feels like a nice place to work for the wrestlers. I like AEW as a concept because it feels like they can get a lot done and they only have to do it once a week, so the guys don't have to be completely broken at 40 years old, I'd like a world where pro wrestlers aren't just beat to shit because of what's happened to them. You know? I mean, be hurt, whatever, but like some of these guys, when their careers are over, they're just, in terrible shape. And they never get better. It's just like, oh, I'm beat up because I was a wrestler. Because they do it too much, I think. I don't know. Or just the way it's done. I don't know. But I feel like WWE, because they work their guys so much, you can't help but get injured and have to work through it and just kind of screw your body up. But in AEW, if you're working once a week, you can kind of be able to heal up, especially if you don't wrestle every week. And that seems good for the longevity of the wrestlers and for their general health. I don't know.
But that's also the problem, too. Like, it's once a week, but maybe sometimes you don't wrestle. So sometimes you don't wrestle that week at all. So I think it's good to get that Saturday show because not everyone gets their reps in. And some people need more than just once a week of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you go in, week out, every weekend, you're wrestling 2 or 3 shows a week, and then suddenly you go to one show, you could feel like the difference. Like, you don't feel the same in terms of like you're ready in the ring. Like, you feel like you're a little bit off. Some people need to stay in the ring and get those reps in. So
yeah,
I think a house show actually will help a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a lot of inexperienced people on the roster who could use the practice. That's for sure. And a house show is a great way to practice. So they could do that, but for the big stars, I mean, you could have them on and they could do, very little, right? Just to draw.
Right.
Like a Kenny Omega.
Well,
a Kenny Omega you could
on.
put on a house show, but he doesn't have to have a Kenny Omega match. But is Kenny Omega capable of going out there and just having a regular match if he's booked? I don't know. I guess with the trios, it's easier.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have a good setup for that. It's true. But I also look at it in the sense where, like, you don't need to have the top guys in those positions all the time. Like, you just have like maybe 2 or 3 of them. Like say you have like a Kenny Jericho, like a Winnipeg kind of house show kind of thing. They're there, but they don't need to actually wrestle. They can just be a part of the show in some capacity. They're just headline in the sense of just drawing people, but the matches can just be, it can be 2.0 in the main event. That'd be enough.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as you have a few stars to draw the tickets. So we'll see what AEW starts doing. Is it once a week that they're doing it? Do you know what they're...
I mean, it's like the 18th or something. They're starting this March. They're doing this, right? So
they've only announced one?
More of one, yeah. So we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
But I mean, at least this increases the chances of more places getting shows, Montreal possibly. Like, they do a show Toronto. Maybe they do a show Montreal on the Saturday, at least.
We're getting a SmackDown and Elimination Chamber. AEW should give us a TV show. Give us Dynamite. Like, what are they waiting for here? We're selling out the Bell Center 2 straight nights for pro wrestling. That thing is sold out. SmackDown and Chamber are sold out, basically, at the Bell Center. I mean, there's some tickets you could get, but it's like minimal. You could look right now. It's barely a ticket available.
I think it's just resale tickets, probably.
Is it? Yeah. It's nothing. There's nothing left for these shows. AEW should come and do TV here. There's no reason why they shouldn't. Wrestling is hot in Montreal. Like, I'm surprised. I was surprised at how well Chamber and SmackDown sold. I don't think it's just because of Sami Zayn. Are you there? Did I lose you?
Oh, I'm glitching in and out. Glitching in and out. You might want to wrap up the show, possibly.
All right. Let's wrap up the show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I will be back. When will I be back? Thursday, right? Can you hear me, John? Doesn't seem like he can hear me.
Should be. No Fedor watch along?
What?
I can hear you, but
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. No Fedor watch along. No okay. Fedor watch along. But I do. I'm excited to see Fedor tomorrow night. But I'll be back on Thursday for Ringside Report MMA, Thursday night, 8 p.m. As we do every Thursday at 8 p.m., we'll be previewing the UFC 284 card, which will be Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski, which is a crazy fight for the UFC lightweight title. Featherweight champion Volkanovski going up to fight the lightweight champion Islam Makhachev coming up next weekend in the UFC, and we'll do a watch-along for that. You better believe it. Next Saturday for UFC 284 in Australia. So that's going to be big. Next Thursday, 8 p.m. on Ringside Report MMA. And then, of course, next Friday after SmackDown, 10 p.m. Eastern, as we do every Friday night here, Wrestling Uncensored, me and Johnny talking pro wrestling like we just did right here on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.